talking about some of the challenges of what happens when you praise your kids too much or too little.
Yeah.
One can possibly create, a little bit of an ego, which can often turn into insecurities later.
Yep.
If they're overinflated, it can oftentimes create this pressure where they feel like now they have to perform at that level.
Yep.
Things that obviously mom and dad I don't think are thinking
They don't
of.
need to, yeah.
And we as parents, I know we went through both sides and we've experienced both sides of it as well. And then on the flip side, if you never praise your child, obviously there's no expectations, but maybe that can leave this feeling of a disconnect as well long term.
Insecurities in that.
Insecurities in that one as well. So it was funny because you were talking about, we were talking, and we were stark opposite in how we were raised.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you?
Mine was the sense of my mom, we got praised. I have a sister who's a couple years younger, and we got praised for everything we did. We did the best. You're the best at this. You can do whatever you want.
So you were the ones who were perfect.
In my mom's eyes, yeah. And so for me, I don't know about my sister. I've never asked her, but we were different athletically in different things. But it put a pressure on me that I felt like I had to be the best at things and get number one in things. And I did in elementary school, especially, when I was little. I was first in races, first in this, first in that. It was a pressure I put on myself. I don't think she meant to do that. She was trying to do the best she could, but everybody wants their kids to be the best at everything. But there's a point where I think, it becomes too much.
So do you think that she was doing it because she just wanted to praise you, or she wanted you to be the best?
No, I think she just wanted to
So,
praise.
there's different types of personalities. Yes. And some are like, my kid is the best and you better perform. You give it 1,000%.
Right.
And not all kids are on that page at that age yet.
Yeah.
Competition can be healthy, but it can also be unhealthy if in the wrong context.
Right. And I don't think my mom was in that. She was more of just praising us because that's just what she did. That's just how she was. The pressures I put on myself as a kid.
So I know you know, but we always go back to the joke.
Oh, gymnastics, yeah.
I know, mom's a gymnast.
I was when I was a kid, yeah.
I know. So it's because your mom.
Yes.
Would be saying things like, "Oh yeah, Corey was always, she was just an amazing gymnast," and so all the girls growing up got to be like, "Well, I know, mom's an amazing gymnast," and it just got to be this thing because you're not, you're not like highly athletic at this point in your life. We were just talking. I'm not even sure if have I ever seen you run.
Yes, you have. Yes, after 30 years, yes, you have. We had a race one time, and you just don't remember.
Well, that's because you must have been too far behind me. No. If you'd have worked me in front of me, I could have seen you run.
There was like a group of us, and we all just for fun, because
There was a group of us running?
Yes. There was, I can't remember who, I feel like we were with friends or something weird, I don't know. But yes, you have seen me run.
Okay.
You just don't remember.
You're
I remember you run.
I don't. Everybody, once you've seen me run, you'll remember.
Yes.
Yeah. I inherited that from my,
Your
I didn't
aunt.
inherit it from my aunt, but I share that with my aunt in my...
The way you run.
Yeah.
It's not bad, it's just funny.
Oh no, it's bad.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's, watching me go down the road, you wonder how does he go down the road, but anyway, that's another topic.
Yeah. So what about you though? So we were opposite, so growing up, were you praised and told you could do the best be the best at whatever?
No, there was not a lot of praise. I don't really remember any. and that's not anything to cast stones at my parents. They just weren't like that.
Yeah.
Not that they were bad in that sense. They just weren't the ones who, great job. They weren't cheering me on.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the way our household was. And the baby, my little brother, he got enough for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're listening.
Now, looking back, though, do you think do you wish you had some praise or good job or you're going to do great at that? Good luck on your test, whatever. Like my mom, that's how my mom was. It was
totally. totally. And I say that, again, in the context of my parents didn't not do it in any, way of negativity.
No,
it just wasn't the way they were.
Yeah.
They weren't the type of people who were thinking about the encouragements and things like that. Yes, I think it would have been, I think it's a driving factor. Yeah. It's a driving motivator, I should say, for children. Now, we've raised 4 daughters at this point. They're adult
different
women. We have one 18-year-old left at home. The rest are married and, they're out in life. So they're not kids anymore. But yes, and I still see that now, and I still try to encourage them.
Yep.
So, the greatest thing about not having something as a child, when you recognize it, it's the best opportunity you have now to change that for your family dynamic.
Yeah.
So
you do different.
I like to say I'm an optimistic realist. I'm not a pessimistic, I'm not an optimistic, but I try to look at them from a positive standpoint and be real about what they are.
Yeah.
And I think the girls know that about me, and they know that, I'm not going to just overinflate them. And I think that's really kind of what we're talking about here is the inflation point, where is it still healthy? Is it building them? Because we've seen some where they come to think that everything's a failure if they didn't reach perfection.
Right.
And that's
a whole problem.
That's a hard point to be at, especially for a child to grow up in.
Yeah, to have all that pressure on you like that, that's really hard.
It's a ton of pressure. And I think when there's too much praise, what we've seen is when there's too much praise, then if they don't get the praise or they don't hit perfection to where the parent is praising them for their perfection, they feel like they were a failure. And that's disappointment, and it knocks them down, and it creates this almost like a false illusion of accomplishment.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
And the truth is, as we both know, and everybody listening right now, failure is imminent.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Yeah, all of us have failures. When we learn that some of our greatest failures are our greatest stepping stones to move into something more from what we've learned from that, that's the spice of life. Nobody says, hey, I wish I could fail. I wish I could go fail. You just don't, but it happens all the time. I have them regularly. And until I learn to embrace some of those failures, and it's a constant pressure, tension, anxiety, whatever, however you want to, attach the emotion to it. So I think it's really important to measure and say, is the praise valid, or is it just trying to pump them up?
Right, too much. And that's what I noticed. That's huge with kids with grades, like in school and stuff.
With their grades?
Yeah, they have that pressure. They always got to be the 4.0 or higher or whatever. And then I've talked to kids like that before, and
they have a lot of pressure.
I have a B, and that's like the end of the world, and it's like, oh my goodness, I would love to have just had B. I'm just saying, it's like it's just so much pressure on them, and parents do. I'm sure some willingly push, know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think majority probably don't realize what they're putting on their kids, know, the pressures and.
It's funny you say that, because B's.
What?
That's pretty high up there.
I know, it's pretty good. That's what I'm saying. I would have been great.
My history, and I'm not judging anybody for how they, raise their family, what they show as, success, whether in school or they're, measured by their grades, whatever it may be. But as an uneducated business owner, I also know, and a guy who's reached some success according to the world standards, I also know that wasn't something that I put any pressure on our kids at all. And the reason being is because of this. I'm a firm believer that grades are not going to create your future. Obviously, they have impact depending on what you want to do. But I think the crux is, number one, did you give it your best?
Yeah.
Did you do the best that you could? And number two, if you're willing to work hard enough, you can accomplish anything you want. Those were the two variables in our household that I stand by today for our family.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't mean, you know, those who say, hey, grades are everything.
Yeah.
That's okay, to each his own.
We just didn't put that pressure on.
We didn't put the pressure on because we're from a different path. So I think some of those pressures come from oftentimes
Parents' experience?
yes, the parents' experience.
Yeah, because they might have had the same themselves. And I know people like that their kids, that's the thing, is to get into the best colleges, you have to have the grades and the this, and that's the goal, is to get into the best colleges and all these things and high ACT scores, and we just didn't. And the girls have asked, you know, before, because when they were little, I was on them all the time with homework and all the stuff, but they've asked me before.
You were, and I'm like, ah.
Well, yeah, but it was just more of, they've asked me before of why we just didn't have like getting
Why
all
what?
A's.
Asked you what?
Basically, why they didn't have that.
Why we didn't put the pressure on them?
Yeah, like why.
Well, we should have just put pressure on the little brats anyway. We should have given them some pressure to experience.
Yeah, I mean, they had enough pressure. I feel like school. Yeah.
School's hard enough in itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Than to put those extra stresses. But everybody, you know, to each your own. It's not. We're not judging parents that do that.
Yeah,
by any
and
means.
you know, sometimes it almost is like, you know, the parents. I've seen it two ways. The parents put that pressure on them sometimes because they weren't able to achieve it. So it's kind of living vicariously through them. It's like a do-over, and so they want so badly. It's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just this desire they have more for their kids, and that's, I get that. But I think when you step back and look at it from an overview, you know, it can be challenging because out of our 4 daughters, clearly they are very different personality types. One of them just kind of breezed through school and just wanted to get it done, didn't care about it, you know, wasn't disturbed by any of the craziness or anything, didn't want to be there. And she has a strong mind for business. You know, she's you know, the director of operations, so she does well. Not that the others aren't talented as well; they're just different
their own
in
ways.
different talents. So one of them who did have some challenges that we pulled out and homeschooled, she's extremely creative and artistic in her own way and stuff. But all the things that I see with these girls, school was not a component that would make or break them. So because we have the flexibility as parents, and everybody does, it was our choice to not put the pressure there and put the pressure on, did you give it your best? And if you did, that's all I can ask. That was always my conversation. But I'd be like, are you sure you gave it your best? Or are you just blowing smoke because you just want to say, yeah, Dad, I gave my best, because you're being lazy? That's not the same. So there were pressures that you know, wanted them to perform and give it their best, and really try to teach them, look, you know, again, about the failures. Because the failures are going to come over and over. So I know when we were, you know, youth pastors for a window of time, some of those kids were some pretty high achievers. And had top grades, and they felt a lot of the pressure was constantly on them for their grades. And then they went and did something completely different.
I mean, we know so many that have done that.
You know, one young guy is a hot shot in the military. I mean, really has done fantastic things. But it wasn't because of his schooling and stuff. It was because of his personality. It was because of his work ethic. He's a great guy, and he was driven. And you could see that all through his schooling career. So, yeah, it's interesting. So I think to encompass the conversation, what we were really trying to figure out and kind of land on is, you know, to settle, is that there's kind of 2 that we've seen. So I think you have to be cautious. In not overinflating your children to where it becomes an ego. You know, I'll be honest, and we may get some hate comments from this, but I'm not a proponent of everybody gets trophy.
I know.
I feel like, you know, participation trophies just mean you were there in proximity, but did you do anything to warrant praise or warrant recognition? And when you don't,
now everyone gets it.
So you're now put on the same level of the kids who work their tail off
Yeah.
to be the best that they could be. This person just showed up and everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah. Well, everybody's included. You know, that's the whole premise.
Yeah.
Is everyone's included now. It was different when we were young.
It's a different generation, but it removes the drive to compete.
Competitiveness.
And competition is important. I mean, kids need to learn that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how you survive.
Right.
You know, so there are people, these kids are going to end up in the workforce,
Yeah.
and they're going to have to support their families and everything else. There's just, unless they live off grid, but that's the culture we live in.
Yeah.
And, you know, when the government, you know, has its hand in our pockets to take, you know, a ton of what we earn, you got to go out and work and produce as much as you can so you can, you know, live the dream, create the lifestyle, whatever it is that you want.
Yeah.
So if they don't get used to competition, then they end up not reaching the success that they want, and they don't know how to handle failure.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And so it's good, like we're saying, it's good to have praise and to praise your kids for sure and make them feel, you know,
love
like
on
they're
them.
doing a good job and you know.
Supportive
Yes.
praise,
Yeah.
just not overinflating
Right.
praise to boost them for what may not be realistic.
Right.
I think really what it comes down to for me, as we kind of close it up, I think if we change that narrative to, you know, positive encouragement,
Right.
absolutely, every kid needs that. Parents, I know this is evident, but man, you really need to be loving on your kids because it goes so fast. Trust me, from a guy who's had 4 daughters, and they're like, poof, they're out the door, and I'm like, where did they all go? You know, so I wish I'd have had more time, and I wish I'd have known this before. But you know, in the 20s and 30s, you're just there's no book that came, you know, no manual that the hospital gave us as we left with each baby. Hey, here's your rule book. You know, follow these, and you'll make a great parent. There's nothing like that.
It'd be nice if there was.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know, but who knows what it might have said.
Yeah.
In today's world, but anyway, the point is. I think positive encouragement, love your kids, but be realistic and make sure they get used to, and this is where I think that, you know, I'm proud of our girls because they can take criticism.
Yeah.
And make sure they get used to having some loving criticism so they understand that everything is not just you're just fabulous all the time. You showed up, you.
Exactly.
So you create, you know, the greatest potential for a strong, well-balanced young person to go through life who has confidence and is not scared of failure.
Yeah.
That's where the greatest success will come.
Agreed.
That's all we got.
That's it.
So hey, if you like this episode, we would love for you to like, subscribe, hit those buttons, comment. We'd love for you to join the conversation. But thanks for joining us.